All right, let's turn now to the latest unemployment claims number. Another 709,000 Americans filed first-time claims last week. That's down about 48,000 from numbers posted from the previous week. This comes ahead of the holiday shopping season when spending is projected to look a little different this year amid the pandemic. I want to bring in Stacy. She's the Director of Portfolio Strategy at Optimal Capital. Frances, we are 9 months into the pandemic. What does this drop suggest about the current state of the U.S. economy, and what does it mean for the average American worker?
So these things are incrementally dropping every week, which on the surface is very good news. But a lot of people are getting exhausted from the 26 weeks from their states because this has gone on for so long. And so they're moving over to the pandemic unemployment emergency compensation, which gives you an extra 13 weeks, except that we don't have 13 weeks left in this year. That expires December 31st. So while you're seeing a drop in the weekly claims, you're seeing also, simultaneously, the people who are getting expired off of the program who filed the weekly claims earlier, you're seeing an uptick of 160,000 in those extended benefits under the CARES Act. So it's kind of a funny thing. It's good that we don't have lots of new weekly claims, but we're going to have a problem with the people who have already been on unemployment.
I don't know if it's too early, but would we be seeing seasonal positions playing a role in the jobless claims?
Yeah, so this is really interesting, and it sort of remains to be seen how it plays out. But some of the larger corporations are looking at shoring up their balance sheets, particularly, with a divided government. You're going to see a little less fiscal stimulus, ostensibly. And so they're looking at that moving forward. So you have larger corporations laying people off for the longer term. And then you do have some pickup in the seasonal employment, but it's mainly coming from the e-commerce companies, the huge e-commerce companies like Walmart, Target, and Amazon. As far as the brick and mortar stores, they're not really hiring for the holidays, unfortunately, because they're already in trouble. They're already barely making it. They may not open. You have that sort of story. So the tale of COVID is the tale of winners and losers. And that's true in the retail space. That's true with holiday employment. And it's also going to be true with larger corporations as they try to mitigate their costs moving forward.
So what do you think the holiday shopping season will look like then, Frances? I mean, will people spend?
I think so. I think people who can spend definitely will spend. I think there's no reason to think that they can't. And I think it's, there is a segment of the population that's really suffering. It's not large enough yet. Sadly, I say yet, in order to affect consumerism. I don't think through the holidays, because people are still going to, even if they're locked down, going to order all their Christmas presents on Amazon and get gift wrap. I know I'm planning to do this, right? So, but moving forward into next year, where we're really going to see the pain is when corporations start accelerating their layoffs. Bankruptcies are still sort of at the global financial crisis level. And, then you have the temporary holiday employees being laid off at the same time that you have the CARES Act expiring, which means that people who are rolling off of those unemployment benefits after 26 weeks in their state aren't going to get extended unemployment benefits. Of course, lots of things are expiring. The eviction moratoriums are expiring. So I know that in the state of Nevada, even though now I'm in Florida, I'm just switching states. But, in the state of Nevada, I just know, I have a really good friend who's a great real estate attorney, and he is doing nothing but filing evictions. That's all he's doing, 9 to 5, all day long. So as soon as those moratoriums expire, a lot of people are going to find themselves evicted.
Which is why we really could use a second round of stimulus. But so far, we haven't seen the talks resume at all. This has got to be having an impact on consumer confidence. Even if you're one of the lucky ones to have a job, if there's uncertainty around you, it's got to have an impact.
I think the impact so far is very, it is psychological. And obviously there's a segment of the population that is really suffering. But the psychological impact, where it shows up in markets with traders who kind of understand the connected pieces of all of this, is you have the dollars going up this past week, along with the market rally that was based on sort of the divided government and then the vaccine news. And that's kind of weird. Those have been, negatively correlated, meaning they should go in the opposite direction. And they were going up together. And I think it's because the dollar is still the flight to safety. And then today you have a resumption of the stay-at-home trade, where people are coming out of those reopening trades, which are Carnival Cruise Lines and some of those things, and going back into technology because the virus cases are kind of, spiking again. So we think we're going to be staying at home a bit longer. It's just really hard to tell how all of this is going to shake out. But the thing that we know for certain, and certainly the Fed has been very clear, and they're speaking again today, Powell's speaking at the ECB forum, we are going to know that fiscal stimulus is a must, if for no other reason, because the debt service that is occurring with the record amount of debt in almost every sector of our society, it drains liquidity out of the system. People don't know that. It drains liquidity. So you've got a drain in the bottom of your swimming pool. And that's going to start to weigh on people. As far as can we get it done in the lame duck session, I was hoping after the election that some of the political posturing would go away. I'm afraid because we have the Senate being determined by those runoff races in Georgia that we're still going to see some political posturing. I think if McConnell was smart, he would get a deal done while he has control of the Senate, because while it's projected that he is going to remain in control, nobody knows, as we know.
Francis, as you know, this is the first unemployment report since President-elect Joe Biden's projected win. A CBS News exit poll split along partisan lines showing Republicans largely believe President Trump's handling of the pandemic has been good or excellent. How have the markets responded?
Well, the markets love this idea of divided government, because the markets like to price uncertainty. And the thing that was going to potentially hurt the markets with the blue wave was a massive uptick in taxes. And it wasn't certain whether those things would be offset by fiscal stimulus, because again, stimulus hits winners and losers and taxes hit winners and losers, right? So you kind of have to shake that calculation out. But it's kind of nice because they think that, regulations will be mitigated, and markets just love certainty, and we're not going to go too far up too fast with those taxes. But that could all still change, as we know. So less likely that Trump pulls out some kind of a legal victory. Obviously, the percentages for that are very low. But, that Georgia race, it's so hard to say what the sentiment will be. The other thing about the tech stocks and the stay-at-home plays moving up again is that, we think that Joe Biden presidency, rightly or wrongly, is going to be, more, locking down the economy for longer, potentially, if the virus cases remain elevated. So whereas the other administration is talking about reopening. So markets are just trying, aside from the politics, markets are just really trying to price this stuff in as quickly as possible. And I think that's why we're sort of stagnant here at these elevated levels, is because you still have so many, question marks around all of this. But I think what's going to end up being really sad is if we can't get more fiscal stimulus for the people who are really suffering, by the end of the year.
All right, Francis, Stacy, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you as always.